All right, how's everybody doing this afternoon? It is the Osmo.com NHL DFS Strategy show, and we've got a big 11 gamer to go over. Wanted to make sure we got something up, and so the show is going to be a little bit earlier today. Probably a bunch of you, most of you watching this will be watching on delay, and that's just as good. For the people that are here, feel free to drop in news as we get it. I'm sure there's going to be some morning skate stuff, some guys that are game time decisions. I already see a number of them for tonight. So mainly on Arizona, like 4 or 5 guys that are game time decisions. So we'll see. We'll see what ends up happening. Projections up on the site. Early slate just locked. Good luck if you play. If you did play, I did not play the early, but we did have projections. We'll have ownership for the main slate. Maybe even during the show. I did do some preliminary crunches and went through everything per usual. So I'm feeling pretty ready for the slate. Now it's just which late news are we going to get? And it's always fun reacting to late news. It's 11 games. There's going to be possibly a lot of moving pieces. A bunch of teams actually did skate. Morning, where's your beer? No beer this morning, but tonight for sure. And then tomorrow, of course, just prepping for a Super Bowl party. I'm hosting the Super Bowl party for my friends and family, so we will see how this goes. Just gotta get everything clean. Gotta make sure we have ample amount of drinks and seating arrangements and all that stuff. So I'm sure you guys are dealing with the exact same thing. And then of course got to get my showdown lineups in, and maybe even some betting. I'm not a real big better, just like classic gambler, but I do like betting on some of these props. And we did have a show. I just got done. Well, I'm almost through the Super Bowl extravaganza that we did with Laffy and Ben Raza. Those guys crushed it. 2-hour long show. They had Josh on. They had Spags and Jordan Frank and Sal Vetri, Osimo, Alex Baker. He did the showdown portion. Red Gatorade lock. Is that the lock? I don't know. Yeah, feel free to drop in your favorite bets. I'd love to hear them. I will probably just degen a few and hope to get lucky and bank the million or split it with a couple hundred people. That tournament's insane. If you're playing the $5,300 milli, good luck in that. If you're playing the 10, I hope you finish second behind me. I don't know if any of my lineups would be unique. But anyways, this is an NHL show. We are sponsored by Yahoo Daily Fantasy Sports. Hopefully you guys have gotten over and played some over there. If you're looking to play some NHL, they've got some decent contests. And, if you don't like the 150 max, if you don't like playing 20 max even, they've got some 10 and 7 max tournaments that you can get your feet wet with. Use promo code OSMO to get up to $30 in Yahoo Sports rewards points. They've got NBA contests every day. Soccer, they'll have MLB. I'm excited to play over there for MLB, and then NFL as well. Although we're saying goodbye to the NFL for 6-7 months after tomorrow. So tomorrow's your last chance. If you have not yet checked out checked out these showdown rankings that we have. Showdown single game. Alex does these, and they're free today once again. So we got them for DraftKings, FanDuel, and Super Draft. If you guys are playing the single game slate over there, every player ranked, every relevant player. Kyle Juszczyk. We've got Blake Bell, Jeff Wilson. I mean, anyone that you could think of playing, anyone active is basically going to be ranked in these rankings. So you can see what Alex thinks of each of those guys. And also, tomorrow is your last chance for the Super Bowl Live promo. You get monthly Osmo Plus Platinum for $54. It's usually about $90, $89, $95 value. And so you will be getting almost a $36 discount. Any promos for NHL subs, promo code NHL Strategy, which is right above me, is how you get 50% off your first week. And we may be revamping our ongoing promo codes, the NHL strategy, NFL, NBA strategy. So take advantage of that while it lasts. All right. Last night, we'll go over just very quickly. Hopefully you guys fared better than me. Was not one of my better nights. Had a chance for a while in the 15. We don't have anything currently for monthly besides the Platinum Live promo code. But yeah, we're looking into everything. I mean, that's what we're doing. We're looking to gain data on these promo codes. So that's what we got right now. It could change. Can't guarantee anything, but yep, that's what we're working with for right now. Canada 72 took it down. The 15, I believe he had Eric Chernak. Yeah, Chernak, Tyler Johnson. The Chernak goal actually buried me. A lot of guys up at the top did have him, and I was obviously not one of them. Really cashy looking lineup here. Ovi, Hagelin, a bunch of punts here, and then just jammed in the studs. So Ovi, Panarin, Crosby, Malkin, and then Hagelin, Tyler Johnson, Chernak, and Marcus Pettersson. Tuukka Rask was huge too. That goalie win actually hurt me quite a bit. I didn't have much Tuukka, and the Tuukka that I did have was with Boston because I like to correlate my goalies a lot. So nice job by Canada 72. Only 4 entries, took it down. Also had another top 5 as well in that tournament. So Brick up near the top, Awesemo. There's me. I was sitting in first before that Tampa game started. I knew I was a long shot to actually end up hanging on, and got pushed out of there pretty quick. Wasn't heavy on the Stastny, Smith, Marchessault line, but we talked about in chat. I ended up playing it. We did get some confirmation on the lines. One of the beats had not tweeted out the lines, but said that Stastny and Stevenson were flipped. And so we kind of all made the decision, or at least I made the decision for myself, that I was just going to go with what the lineup sites had. So almost ended up working out. Schultz was a disappointment. You know, if I play Chernak in here, maybe I'm competing, but he wasn't really on my radar. I liked Schultz a little bit better as a punt, and maybe in hindsight that wasn't the correct play. But Rangers won, ended up, Rangers power play. This was a power play stack. Ended up doing really well and cashed a bunch of lineups, but was not able to get the bink here. So 14th was my best finish. I actually lost almost half of my entry fees. So I basically had that 14th and then nothing else going for me after that. Let's go into tonight. The lineup builder will be free for today. That is our NHL piece of premium content that is going to be made free for today. So there's the link in chat. Let's start it off with probably the chalkiest spot of the night. We don't quite yet have ownership projections. Those hopefully will be coming during the show. If not, you will get those. Premium members will get those shortly after. We're usually a few runs of ownership each day. So Eddie and Tom and I think Alex are the people that work on that behind the scenes. They do a really good job projecting ownership. Miller with the goal to start the scoring. Which Miller? Anyways. Oh, are you talking about the early slate? JT Miller? Okay. I've got my beats list up on this other screen. So I'll try to follow along with news and carry on the show. If we see anything, feel free to drop anything in. If I've missed it, it's 11 games, and maybe I missed something along the way. But in this one, Senators Leafs 2.8 implied total for the Sens, 4 for the Leafs. Big total here. You're going to see it at nearly 4.5 at some places. Seems like just the absolute nut spot. Craig Anderson, Michael Hutchinson are your goalies. Anderson is projected after Hogberg went last night. Hutchinson after Freddie Anderson. I can't remember if the Leafs play tomorrow, but Hutchinson is confirmed. So what we got here, I'm playing a bunch of Leafs. Like, they're probably going to be my highest exposed team. It's chalk. It's chalk that I agree with. Brown did stick with Peugeot and Kachuk last night, so I guessed wrong on that. I thought Duclair might slide up there. Maybe he does tonight if this game is close. Nice, just sub for a month. Excited to learn from the best. Sweet, Eric. Make sure you get in Slack. That is going to be a very useful tool for you, especially if you're trying to figure out how to use everything on the site. But yeah, make sure you get in that Slack chat. Go to the social tab on the homepage. Find the introduction to Slack, and then we will see you in there shortly. I think the Tierney, Nemesnikov, Duclair line is going to be terrible defensively, and probably going to see a lot of Matthews, Marner, and Hyman. I don't think there's a bad matchup for anything on the Leafs here. Like the top two lines, I greatly prefer the Matthews-Marner combo. I'm fine paying $5,500 for Hyman. He's probably going to be the lowest owned of the bunch. He hasn't been bad. Like, I used to think this guy was just completely terrible, but when you're playing with Matthews and Marner, he has been scoring a bit, and he does actually have more upside than I've probably given him credit for in the past. Now, you're not going to one-off Hyman or anything, but if you want to play the full stack, they are pretty expensive, but rightfully expensive. Corey Crawford starting versus Arizona. That is very nice for Arizona. You can full stack the second line too. I know Kerfoot's not the most fun guy to play at 3,800, but I think the best thing here, if you can't decide, is some sort of Josh stack or power play stack. You got to stack top power play here for the Leafs. I believe Ottawa is still taking a ton of penalties. I think they're top 10 in time shorthanded. Let me quick filibuster so I could see. Top 3 in time shorthanded this season. Wow. Now they played a few more games than some of these teams around them, but 173 times shorthanded in 51 games played. That's almost 3.5 times per game that they are shorthanded. It is back-to-back. I would expect the Leafs to run over them in the Corsi battle, the scoring chances battle, expected goals. Whether or not they put in the goals, that's always a thing with NHL DFS. But yeah, I would be very surprised, despite what I expect to be hefty chalk. I would be surprised if the Leafs weren't my highest exposed overall team and been mixing in more power play stacks. I will certainly be doing that tonight with Matthews, Marner, Tavares. They're expensive, but there are some punt lines that I kind of like. Tyson Barrie, 5,500, is another guy that I will be jamming in. Jake Muzzin is my second favorite Leafs defenseman. I think you can play him with either of the top two Toronto lines. Probably in for a decent workload. Once again, will get you some peripheral stuff, shots and blocks in general, and just more exposure to this Leafs team with the massive total. On the other side, it's probably Ottawa 1 or bust for me. However, I'm the biggest Ottawa 1 guy. I feel like I play them all the time. I don't plan on playing a ton of Ottawa 1 tonight. Maybe mix in a few shares in MME, and that's really about it. Let's go to the Rangers and the Red Wings. Familiar game. We just saw this last night. Lundqvist, and I've got Calvin Pickard in for the Red Wings. I don't know if they go back to Jimmy Howard. I kind of doubt it. But he's the second guy on their depth chart, so we'll see what happens with the Red Wings. You should know this by lock. It's Detroit 1 or nothing for the Red Wings for me. I shouldn't X out anyone against the Rangers, but if I was going to, I think I might X out Filppula and Fabry and Adam Ernie. Or I should say I'd maybe X out Filppula. I think you can play Fabry with Larkin and Bertuzzi for the power play correlation. The Larkin line is projecting really, really well for us. The problem is I think they're going to be popular, and I'm not that comfortable playing lines that don't have great numbers as heavy chalk, even when they're this cheap. So it is a good price. I don't get me wrong. I will have some Detroit 1. It's not one of those times where if they're 15%, I think I'm going to have 30. Like if they're 15%, I might have 10 to 15% Detroit stacks and kind of call it good there. The Rangers side also very interesting. Of course, 3.4 implied total. They just put up a handful last night and possibly going up against the backup. I know Howard is essentially a backup that, starts games, but Detroit doesn't have much to offer. Defensively, we saw that last night. Both the Zibanejad and the Strome line absolutely ran over Detroit last night. And I think the Larkin line sees more of the Zibanejad line, and so I like the Zibanejad line a little bit more. If you like the Strome line, they've both been good. I think the Strome line actually has better numbers and might get the softer matchup. So I have no issue if someone said the Strome line is the better play. I think they're both really awesome, and we saw Buchnevich finally get a goal. He's been snake bitten for a while, and 4,300, really good price. I love the Rangers. They're chalk. On an 11-game slate, I'm not that worried about playing chalk. I just don't want to necessarily play the Zibanejad line, let's say, with a chalky filler, right? And then you throw in two defensemen that are going to be 10+% owned. That's the thing I'm trying to avoid. Not necessarily, fade the chalk, unless I think it's bad chalk. But I think we're going to see, this game be popular, the Leafs, obviously. And then after that, it'll probably be pretty flat across the board. So the Rangers are also another team. I love power play stacking, as you saw last night. I had my best lineup was Zibanejad, Kreider, Panarin. You could go either way. I would just like to include at least two guys from the same line. And it's pretty easy to do that with Strome, Panarin, PP1. Zibanejad, Kreider, PP1 as well. It just looks really favorable. Again, we just saw this matchup. The only difference is that it's going to be in Detroit. So maybe a little uptick to Detroit 1. Cholowski, I think I'm going to make a group with him and just say that if I play him, I have to play Larkin. I don't think he's great by himself. He's just 2,500 and maybe going to get top power play. I like Hronek better at 4,600. So that's the guy I'll probably allow more as one-offs. But he's another one that I prefer to play him with Detroit 1 if I can. Playing big minutes lately. They've been pretty empty, but I can't really ignore this total. I feel like if I'm playing Detroit 1, like if our projections like them, which they do, I need to add in a defenseman. And Hronek is going to be that guy in my portfolio of lineups here. And then on the other side, Tony D, 5,100. The minutes aren't great, but if you're power play stacking, he's the guy. That power play has been working for the Rangers. I don't know what I'm doing with the rest of these Rangers defensemen. Probably not playing a lot of them. They're pretty even to me. Trouba at 5,300. I'd love him if he was top power play, but not top power play. Kind of hard for me to get to a lot of him with the abundance of options on this slate. Dallas, New Jersey. Possible snooze fest here. Ben Bishop, Louis Domingue are your goalies. 3 implied total for the Stars, 2.5 for the Devils. Cholowski should be 2,100. I don't hate that. So the thing about Cholowski is if you just look at his median projection, is probably going to be like 5 to 6 points. And so he's going to be a guy that you get as an optimizer. Like when you're using an optimizer, unless you do something with your rules or limit him or something. So I just hate jamming in cheap guys just because they're cheap. Like you need at least 10 DK point upside. The winning lineups rarely have, it'll happen, but it's not like you can just punt anyone and he can get you a 0 and you're live for a tournament. That doesn't often happen. And he's live for a 0 anytime he's out there, I feel like. Back to this game. Probably going to see Zajac, Coleman, and Gusev see the most time against Sagan, Ben, Radulov. They did stick together last game, which was nice to see. Good power play spot in theory for the Stars. Not sure that it's a great 5-on-5 spot, and so I don't like targeting Dallas much either. So looking through my crunch right now, and I like to see this. I don't really have much of anything in this game. I got a couple Sagan shares, and I crunched out 200 lineups. So who knows? Maybe I get to a couple of those. Maybe they just get filtered out. I don't expect them to be popular. So if you love Dallas 1 here, probably the time to play them. Middling total, but I think the pace of this game is just going to be pretty slow. And I don't know that the Zajac, Gusev, Coleman line is the best 5-on-5 matchup that we're going to see on this slate. I don't really have... So no Rupe Hintz. He skated this morning, but he's not going to play. And so I thought maybe you could play some Dallas 2 for cheap, but he's not playing from what I saw. So no Hintz kind of ruins anything but Dallas 1 for me, and me not being wild about Dallas 1 means I'm probably not going to get too much in this game. Not even the Devils 1 either. 2.5 total. Dallas just isn't a very good matchup. So I'm hoping I have the right read on this, and that it kind of stays low total and they just grind it out, and we get a 3-2 game, but no line goes off. Always looking for reasons to play these bad total games on bigger slates or get pieces of it with matching and stuff. But here, it doesn't really strike me as a game that I need to play very much of. Sami Vatanen at 4,100. I'm going back to that well. He's been okay. And by going back to that well, I mean maybe 10% of him in my crunch tonight out of my 150. He's a guy that I'm one-offing a little bit. I'm playing too much Vatanen in general these days, but I'm comfortable with like 10% at 4,100. On the other side, I like Heiskanen as a player, and $5,100 is a little bit expensive, but it is a good power play spot. So if you are stacking Dallas 1, he's really talented, and probably is a guy you want to add in. Like if you're just going for the Dallas top line stack or top power play stack, which would basically be the top line, I like adding in Heiskanen. I might end up with a few one-offs of him as well. Avs, Flyers, 3.2 implied total for the Avs, 2.9 for the Flyers. Grubauer and Alex Lyon are confirmed. We kind of know what the matchups are going to be here, right? It's going to be Couturier, Voracek, Raffle against McKinnon, Landeskog, and Rantanen. If there's ever a place where you could expect a hard match, it would be here. I know the Flyers have been doing some with I think the Hayes line has seen some against opposing top competition, but here I would expect Couturier to be stuck on McKinnon, Landeskog, and Rantanen. If Colorado 1 was a little cheaper, I think I would be overweight if they were like 5% owned. I think they're going to have low ownership, but I'm guessing they come in higher owned than like what the spot entails. Couturier is not a good matchup. I know they haven't been great with Raffle on that line, but you would think their sole goal would be to contain Colorado 1. And I'm not saying you need to X out Colorado 1. Like you wouldn't be surprised if they're the top stack. It wouldn't be the most shocking thing in the world, but it is a tough 5-on-5 matchup. Philly, while they've been closer to the middle of the road and time shorthanded, they're still not like taking a ton of penalties. They're at about 3 times shorthanded per game. That's right around average, above average kill. Like it doesn't strike me as a big Colorado 1 spot. I got 2 Colorado lineups out of 200. That's 1%. So if I miss out on Colorado 1 night, so be it. I'm more likely to take a stab at the Couturier line or the Giroux line on the Flyers side. Giroux, Van Riemsdyk, Konechny. They're not good defensively, but you don't really need to be, I think. Not that worried about the Kadri line, and those guys are all top power play. So kind of more on the Philly side here, even though they're the lower total. It feels like I play a ton of home teams all the time. And if I'm going anywhere in this game, it's probably Philadelphia because of the Couturier hard match against McKinnon and co. Defensemen are kind of another story. Philippe Myers is 2,500. I got to some of him. He's actually one of my higher owned punt defensemen. Take that for what you will. Sandheim is also another punt if you wanted to go there. I don't know that you need to punt with defensemen all that much tonight. Like, maybe if you're trying to jam in a Yossi, then yeah, you might need a Philippe Myers or Walker or someone like that. But pricing looks pretty soft on some of these really good spots. I think that covers it for this game. Not going to be one that I'm super heavily exposed to, but if something goes off, for the sake of my lineups, I want it to be something on the Philadelphia side. Blues Jets, 3.3 implied total for the Blues, 2.8 for the Jets. Binnington expected to go. Allen went. Was that a couple nights ago or last night? Man, this is like the weird slate because everybody's coming back from break or played a back-to-back tonight. It's a big slate. So at least the good part about that is we should know most of the lines for the teams that are coming back from break. How they're going to play, how it's going to play out is a completely different story. Here we have, Winnipeg won. Okay, so it feels like they're cheap. They're going to be. I think they might be sneaky popular on this slate, like maybe 7-8%, and that's not really something I'm interested in here. I think they're going to see a lot of time against. Well, either way, no matter which line they see a lot of time against, they usually go up against a top competition. Now the Blues are a little bit different in that they've got a couple lines that are balanced. So maybe some teams think Shen, Schwartz, Kyrou is the line you want to go up against. Maybe you think that O'Reilly, Perron, and Sanford is the top line in this top competition versus top competition. I like the O'Reilly, Perron duo. I think they're a little overpriced, but that's going to keep their ownership way down. And if they get a bunch of time against the Scheifele line, that's a really good spot. I mean, Cliffy's called Winnipeg one maybe the worst defensive line in hockey that has sustained ice time, and the numbers kind of show that. They're really bad defensively. A note on the Winnipeg side. I like St. Louis as well, or St. Louis 2 as well. Shen, Schwartz, Kyrou. If I could only have one though, I think I would take the Sanford, O'Reilly, and Perron line from making limited lineups. What was it? Oh yeah, Appleton did get moved. Like him and Roslovic, I think, swapped for a while last night, going through the game reports. So that was the only note. Maybe you want to avoid full stacking Wheeler Ehlers and Appleton, or maybe just put Roslovic up there and swap down if you see something different in warmups. But I forgot this is a 7 Eastern start. That's weird for Winnipeg. Maybe they've been doing this on Saturdays. I can't remember, but usually Winnipeg's an 8 p.m. Eastern start. So never mind. Just react like you normally would for the late news. You'll have about 20 minutes, half hour to redo things if need be. So I think I'm going to be lower than the field on the Scheifele line. They look cheaper than what they should be for a team with concentrated scoring, right? But when you kind of dig into the matchup, it's not favorable against St. Louis. I mean, no line's really favorable against St. Louis, but especially if they're going to go up against O'Reilly, I think that'd be pretty dumb of them to try to hard match O'Reilly. But maybe they do. I'm not exactly sure. Hard to know how these coaches are going to see things, because I've been wrong a ton of times on hard matching before. But it still is kind of an important tool especially the shorter the slate gets. I like Morrissey again for 3,800. If you're going to a cheaper defenseman, on the other side, Pietrangelo's still at 6,900. That is a tough price to pay, even though he has been good. Like he's a guy that could easily get the combo meal here. Probably going to be, I think, comfortably sub 5% ownership. I think most sites will have Gio, Yossi, maybe Clefbaum ahead of them, ahead of Pietrangelo raw points, and then like value-wise, he's just not going to grade out that well as a value really anywhere. But you can play him with either line. Like you've got a super cheap guy in Sanford and Kyrou on both of the top two lines. So maybe you want to pop him in. Winnipeg is pretty terrible defensively and a bad kill. Bad kill. They don't take a lot of penalties, but when they do, they have real issues killing them off. And so while almost 7K for Pietrangelo is spendy, in the context of a Blues onslaught, he's a guy I like to add in. So there you go. Not real interested again in Jets 2. I really prefer the Blues side here. I hope Winnipeg 1 is like 7-8% because I'm pretty comfortable going under on that. Even if it burns me, I'd probably do that every single time. Dylan Strome returns to the lineup. 7-game absence. Crawford and net. All right, cool. Vott's got the inside scoop on the Hawks, per usual. 2.9 implied total for the Golden Knights. 3.2 for the Predators. Marc-Andre Fleury expected to go after Subban went last night. Pecorine is expected to go for the Preds. We saw Stastny, Marchessault, and Smith do some damage last night. Stevenson, Pacioretty, Stone, they have a track record of being very, very good at 5-on-5 and not really having big performances. I don't know if that's just an issue with Stevenson or if it's just kind of bad luck. They have been scoring pretty consistently, but just not in bunches like what you need for DFS. I'll say it as I always do. I prefer Winnipeg 2. Whoever Pacioretty and Stone are with, I will play, whether it's Stastny or Stevenson. Near lock that it's going to be Stevenson tonight. I doubt they switch things up after getting a nice win in Carolina. So Nashville doesn't really hard match all that much. And with a balanced top 6, who knows what they're going to do here or if they even want a match. It's going to be top 6 against top 6. Maybe maybe Nashville 3 see some time against one of the top 2 Vegas lines. I like playing Vegas 2 again with Stevenson. And then on the Pred side, I like Nashville 2. I know Nashville 1 looks much better than it did a few days ago with Johansson and Duchesne and Granlund. But I'll take Arvidsson and Forsberg at a discount back-to-back here for the Golden Knights. You hope they don't see a ton of time against Vegas 2 because that's not great. Maybe they see some more time against Stastny, Marchessault, Smith. But either way, with the uncertainty of how things are going to match up here, I'm just going with what I think are the 2 best lines in multi-entry stuff, and that is Turris, Forsberg, and Arvidsson. Stevenson, Pacioretty, Stone. These lines will probably get mixed in as fillers, Vegas 1 and Nashville 1. I don't think it's a Nashville 3 night for me, though. I know we like playing them or whatever, but I'm probably limiting most third lines to, 1 or 2 out of my 150. And so usually I give a bump to third lines that have been really good. So maybe I'll allow a couple more lineups out of my 150 to be Nashville 3, but I don't think this is a spot where I get to even like 5% of them. Defenseman, Nate Schmidt at 3,800 scored a goal last night. I think that's just a good price for a guy that Plays a lot. He does have a little bit of upside, and it's just a good price. Theodore at 5,200. I'll have Shea Theodore just because I always do. Right now, I'm looking at about 5% of him though. Not one of my favorite one-off guys tonight. Yossi is my highest owned defenseman at this point in time, but it's not like I'm playing 40% of him, and that's just because of the price. It's got to be it's just got to be a great matchup for 7,800. It is a good matchup, I think, but I don't know that it's a great one. And while he's gonna be the best defenseman for basically everyone, a lot of people are gonna have a hard time paying that. I'm at 25% Yossi right now. So if I'm at that number, I think I'm pretty comfortable. That's probably 2x the field. I love spending up for these top defensemen. And this is kind of like running backs for football. And yeah, I'm not the best NFL DFS player, but people always talk about value. And like, you don't need 30 points for Yossi to hit value. If Yossi gets you 22 or 21 points, if he has a multi-assist game or scores a goal and gets you one of the bonuses, you're looking for 20 plus points out of him. And yeah, he's got the upside for 30, but I don't think of defensemen like that at all. Like, I want the raw points. I want to lock in 15, 20, 25 points. And I think guys like Yossi, guys like Gio to some extent, guys with massive peripheral number, Dougie was like this. Petrangelo, I think, falls in that category. Like, I'm willing to spend up and then punt my other defensive guy and maybe get lucky on a $3K punt elsewhere, rather than play two $4,500 guys that are going to play, maybe 18, 20 minutes, and they just have the fancy power play one tag. Like, I want the guy with the massive upside, but also the high floor too, even in tournaments, which some people don't agree with. But I will be paying $7,800 for Yossi often tonight. Fabro, do we need to talk about Fabro? Is this correct? $2,600 he's playing on the top power play. Let me check this out, because I didn't. Was he on the top power play last game? Let me see if this is correct. Or maybe they practiced this and I missed this. If I'm wrong, feel free to tell me in chat. Been wrong plenty of times before. But I want to check last game. 5v4. We'll check to see where Yossi was. Okay, he played 58 seconds on the power play with Yossi last game. But it looks like that was two different units. So Yossi kind of played with everyone. It looks like Yossi just played all the power play time with both units, and Fabro was with the Granlund, Smith, Turris line. So I would tend to pump the brakes on Fabro being top power play here. I don't know. I might be wrong. It's probably worth a couple shots at 2,600 just to play a talented guy anyways, even if he's going to be third pairing. So just kind of lowering my expectations there for him actually being on the top power play. But let's go to the next game. Bruins Wild, 2.9 applied total for the Bruins, 2.7 for the Wild. Halak, Dubnyk for the Wild, question mark, maybe Stalock. I haven't seen anything yet this early afternoon on the Wild goalie. They're usually pretty good about saying who it's going to be. Jonathan Quick off first. Expect him tonight against the Ducks. Doughty, a question mark. Let's see. I haven't seen anything on Dubnyk versus Stalock. I'll be at this game. Yeah, the Wild. I don't know what to make of the Wild. They've looked really good at times. They've looked terrible at times. And maybe it's just because I watch a lot of them because they're the local team for me. But I don't really have any rooting interest in them. But for the people that do, I kind of feel sorry for them at times. So, regardless of who goes for the Wild, it's not a team that I'm very interested in tonight. They usually have cheap skaters. Like, Stahl, Parise, and Zuccarello have all been like, 4 or 5K this season at times. And now against Boston, they're priced up. So I'm kind of out on Minnesota tonight. If you wanted a super deep flyer, we saw pretty low ownership for Boston too last night. And granted, they didn't get it done, but I kind of like them as a deep GPP flyer. The most exposure I got on my crunch 200 lineups that I did to any wild line was 2 lineups out of 200, even at their prices. That's pretty unusual. I think the matchup against Boston just is garbage. Yeah, not the spot for me for the Wild. If someone goes off, I'm okay losing. I think there's going to be ownership scattered between the top 2 lines. Like even if it's like 3-4%, man, I'll find another line that's 1% that is probably in a better spot. At least I feel like I can find that. So, in fact, I'd rather go to the other side and play Coyle, DeBrusk, and Anders Bjork. I think that's a better option than pretty much anyone on the Wild side. Now, Boston won. Very expensive. Wild do a decent job of slowing it down on home ice, especially. Boudreau seems to like the Eriksson, Foligno, Cunnin line against opposing top competition. They're not that great defensively, but they are okay. I don't know if they're going to be able to hold their own against Boston 1, but I'm also not playing a lot of Boston 1. On their side, Minnesota just has a team, just a pretty good defensive team, and you're not getting a big discount on Boston 1, especially with Pastrnak at 8,600 on DK. Yeah, not a Boston 1 night for me. They're going to get their 5% ownership. Whatever it is, they always get owned. This is a spot where I'm probably just going elsewhere. There's way better spots than Boston 1 tonight. Are there way better lines than Boston 1 tonight? Just overall, probably not. They're probably the best line in the slate. If you want to say Colorado 1 or someone else, just best raw line on the slate. They're going to be up there. They're going to project as one of the best raw point lines. But really tough for me to get to them this evening. No defensemen that are really I'm really keen on tonight in this game. I don't have anybody above 2%. I have 1%. I have 2 Matt Dumba shares at this point. I don't think that gets much higher. Yeah, this game's kind of brutal. Blackhawks, Coyotes. This one's not brutal. 2.8 implied total for the Hawks, 3.1 for the Coyotes. I want to see really quick where we have Arizona 1 on our rankings. Because I was crunching them out. I was expecting just to organically get to a ton of Arizona 1. And I didn't get to as much as I thought. Okay, we've got them as an AA. So maybe I messed something up there. But yeah, I think Arizona 1 is in as good of a spot as anyone tonight. Taves, Kubalik, and Kajula are, not good defensively, just to put it, in a nice way. Kane's not good defensively. There's just no line I'm worried about. And we've got really awesome numbers for Dvorak, Hall, and Garland together at 5-on-5. They're fully correlated on the power play. It is Crawford in net for the Hawks. At least he's expected to go. That is a pretty nice upgrade. We've seen Leonard just completely shut teams down, just close the door time and time again. And that's always a concern when you're stacking against Chicago. Now, Crawford's going to see a ton of volume. Could he pull one out of his hat here? I'm sure he could. I don't think that's very likely, though. I am slamming not only Arizona 1, but Arizona 2. Even if, Arizona 1 doesn't project the best for us, by a long shot, they might end up being my highest exposed line. This is one that I want to make sure I'm over on. I might have more Arizona 1 than any of the Leafs lines. Which might be contrary to popular exposures tonight. Stepan, Keller, and Kessel. I will be using them, but I want to have way more Arizona 1 than Arizona 2. Like, I think people will see Kessel. I think people will see Keller and Stepan being pretty cheap and just think they're being sneaky. I don't think that's going to be sneaky at all, playing Arizona 2 here, despite the bad correlation on the power play. I think it's going to be one of your more popular filler stacks. So I'm trying to get in as much Arizona 1 as possible while also making good lineups. Ekman Larson, Demers, I can't remember who are these other guys that are also questionable. It is Ekman Larson, Demers, and Brad Richardson, my boy, B Rich. Those guys are all question marks for tonight. Now, maybe that makes you like Chicago more if, a couple of those guys are out. It doesn't really do much for me. Arizona is a pretty good defensive team. Yeah, if they lost Ekman Larson for this game, that would be a pretty brutal blow for them, but I'm not wild about the Hawks. I hate these lines, and it's an 11-game slate, and I'm just hoping Ekman Larson and Demers play, and you see a pretty normal Arizona team. Even if I wanted to play Chicago, how do you stack them, right? I guess it's the power play, but Arizona's just good defensively, so give me all the Arizona here. I like that their total is modest. I hope they go overlooked. They won't go overlooked by me. And then, defenseman. Maybe a bump up to Chikrin if you think that there's a chance that one of these guys doesn't play. So 4,300 for Chikrin. I like that a lot. Would be a minutes boost for sure, but maybe even a roll boost if Ekman Larson sits. He's probably playing that top power play, which would be very, very nice and not a highly owned combo, I don't think. So what you could do is just leave Ekman Larson in and swap down to Chikrin, 4,700 to 4,300. That would probably be the smartest way to go about this. Oilers, Flames, 2.9 applied total for the Oilers, 3.5 for the Flames. Mike Smith and David Riddick are your goalies. So I don't like much on the Oilers side. Been playing some of this Draisaitl line. They've been producing pretty well. James Neal is a question mark for tonight. If he does play, possible late add. He would be skating where Archibald is right now on your screen. He was a late scratch last night, and I'm trying to read and talk at the same line. Crawford 12-4-2 against the Yotes all time. There you go. That's a boom stat right there. This game, I love. I love the Lindholm, Tkachuk, and Mangiapane line or the power play stack. So a lot of my Calgary lineups, most of my Calgary lineups will be ran through Lindholm and Tkachuk, and then it's whether or not I add in Monahan, Gaudreau, or Mangiapane. One of my favorite teams to power play stack here. I really love Tkachuk and Lindholm, top power play. No matter which line they go up against, going to be a good 5-on-5 matchup, whether they go up against McDavid or the Draisaitl line. I tend to think they go up against McDavid and whoever he's with. But yeah, it looks pretty tasty, and so I'm not gonna be mad if the Monahan Gaudreau line goes off, but if the full stack goes off, I'll be pretty frustrated, and Lindholm gets left out of it because there is a clear delineation where I like the top line better than the Monahan Gaudreau line, which I've been saying for a lot. But if you don't know which line to stack, if you're playing one lineup, PP stack it with Geo. It's so clear who the plays are here for me. And it's the top six. People will leave off Mangiapane, so that makes him fun to play because the line's been so good at 5-on-5. Just really enjoy this spot for Calgary. And not much for Edmonton. They're talented. Well, McDavid's talented. Klefbom is a good defenseman for DFS at 6K. maybe a spot where he gets the combo meal. So Clefbaum might be a guy that I want off. At this point, though, like I'd rather either drop down to like a Tyson Berry. I think I'd rather go to Burns, or get up the $900 to spend up for Pietrangelo. I'm kind of talking myself into Pietrangelo the more I think about it. And then Gio, he's right up there with Yossi as one of my favorite guys. I will be doing a bunch of that as well, but he seems really obvious. Ducks Kings, 2.5 implied total for the Ducks. We have a 2.8 implied total for the Kings. I've got Ryan Miller in there. Whether it's Quick or Campbell, or actually I think it is going to be Quick. Quick's going to go. He was the first goalie off the ice this morning, so I'll get that fixed. In this game, you're probably going to see some lines get jammed in here. I like the Kopitar Iafallo Brown line. I don't like that they're coming off an Iafallo Hattie. Maybe people will go back there because it won them some money the other night. It's just kind of a whatever line for me. I don't think they're difference makers on the slate. On the other side, it's the Getzlaf, Raquel, Silfverberg line or nothing. They're at a really good price. Is it the best matchup? Probably not. And the back-to-back. So they've got some things against them, but those are the two lines I'd be looking to take stabs at as like, they're not priority plays, but they're kind of in the next tier for me. Like maybe I get to 5-6% of the Getzlaf and Kopitar lines, and that's probably going to be overweight, to be honest. Toffoli is a guy that I would be targeting as a one-off again for 4,600. If I'm going to a deep third line, this Lizotte, Kempe, Wagner line has pretty decent sustained numbers. And that's really all I'm doing in this game. It's a 5.5 total with juice to the under. It looks pretty ugly. Alec Martinez is a decent value at 3,900. I'm also probably going to play a couple Sean Walker shares. And I think that's it here. Side note, Henrique, Ritchie, and Terry, they had 20 shot attempts last night against Tampa. That's pretty impressive. Not saying that matters for tonight. I don't think you need to go that deep, but if you wanted to add them to your deep flyer list, there's maybe a reason to do so based off a one-game sample. Tampa, San Jose, last game of the night. If you guys could hit the like button before you head on out of here, that would be greatly appreciated. Always helps us out. If you got any questions for me after the show is over, feel free to hit me up on Twitter. If you're looking for, questions about memberships or, which is the best membership for you, I could point you in the right direction, or I'll be in Slack. I'll be around. You kind of know where to reach me if you need to. Lightning, Sharks, McElhinney, and Dell. I think Dell was just confirmed right now. So, Tampa, once again, I've been lower on them than the field has for most of the season. I'm probably going to continue doing that again tonight. I know the Sharks. It's ugly for the Sharks. I understand it. And they just keep dropping like flies. Hurdle out for the season. So now you're starting a top line with Barkley, Goudreau. They're just super weak down the middle. I mean, Thornton's your second line center after Barkley, Goudreau. That's terrible, right? And I get that. Sharks have been shorthanded a lot. It's scary for Tampa. I don't think I'm going to have zero of them. I don't think I'll be where the field's at, though. On Tampa 1. Tampa 2, they did not have a good game last night. I think Cirelli scored, but looking at what they did overall, it wasn't super impressive. So maybe they're crashing back down to earth. I'm still in on Tampa 2 at that price point. They're just over 12K. Like that's too cheap for a line that's played that well. If I'm going to the Sharks, which I think I'm gonna have some Sharks exposure, it is the Goudreau, Meyer, Kane line. Like just go where the only talent is on this team. That's really it. They're probably gonna see the most time against Point Stamkos Kucherov, because who else would you go up against them with. And so maybe they're in for more ice time. Nice to see Timo with a bump. He played 20 minutes last game. Kane's going to play a lot. Like, just go where the talent's at. Burns and Carlson, I like actually a lot as late night hammer guys. Not because of the late night hammer. I just, like, if there's ever a spot for them to flirt with the combo meals here. I know Burns is hurt. I understand it. But he's been hurt for basically the whole season. And he's still playing at a level where I think he's more than usable at 6,200. So we haven't seen the huge spikes. He did score last game. He was a block away and a shot away from both bonuses. He got neither. So potentially it could have been a massive game for him. I think people are kind of soured on Burns. I'm not. He will be up there with Gio and Yossi as one of my favorite, one of my highest exposed defensemen. And then Carlson, he is on the top power play, but they've been switching back and forth. I think you can play Burns with the top line too, with Goudreau, Kane, and Meyer. Once again, lighter than most on Tampa, I would have to imagine. I still think they're going to see 7-8% ownership, maybe closer to 10, because there's been a lot of talk about how bad the Sharks are, and I get it, they are bad. But for me tonight on this slate, I want to get to as much Toronto and Arizona 1 and Calgary, and they always seem to get squeezed out. I like St. Louis as well. Detroit 1 is projecting really well. There's just some other spots. I didn't even mention the Rangers. Like, there's just kind of a couple too many spots for me to pay up a lot of times for Tampa 1. And I'm fully prepared to get buried. There's always a chance of that. But I hope the damage is done before this game starts so I don't have to sweat getting chased down by all these Tampa power play stacks. Or Tampa 1 stacks. I'll be fine if Tampa 2 does some of the scoring. McDonough, Chernak, 3,100 and 2,800. Two guys, I think, that are fine. I didn't include Chernak yesterday. Probably should have in hindsight. McDonough at 3,100 is the guy I'd rather have, but good prices for both of those gentlemen. And, I think a pretty fun slate. Hopefully not as much late news. There's not as much late news because we've got the long layoff for a bunch of these teams. So I think we're pretty much set to go. A couple of these West Coast teams, we'll see what the Sharks do with their skate, their morning skate. We'll see if there's any expected changes for Tampa, but they just went last night, right? So they're probably not going to get a ton of info. They're probably not going to change much unless there's an injury. But yeah, I think pretty good slate. Not as news intensive as I thought it might be, but just be ready to react at 6:30 Eastern. Check out the chat. Premium Slack, NHL Strategy is how you get 50% off your first week of any Osmo Plus weekly pass. Super Bowl live promo we've got going on. A couple promos. Use code LIV to get all access Osmo Plus Platinum for $54. Normally about a $90 value. This expires tomorrow, Super Bowl Sunday. So take advantage tonight. If you're thinking about it, shout out to Yahoo Daily Fantasy Sports for sponsoring us. Go play on Yahoo. Use promo code OSMO to get up to $30 in Yahoo Sports rewards points. Showdown rankings. These are free. These are going away tomorrow. You will not be able to have access to them if you're not a okay, yeah, I'll pimp out the Twitter list. If you do not have access to premium, you will not get these tomorrow. So take advantage tonight. See a little bit what is behind the paywall. There we go. Here's Vots' Twitter list. Vots does a great job putting this together. Here you go. Go follow that Twitter list. That's the best place to find news outside of the Osmo.com premium Slack, of course, or the live blog. Check out the live blog. That is another way to get information about late scratches, potential changes. Sign up for the matchups column as well. Sign up for the matchups column. Vots has also done a great job at giving you a quick look at the slate. So a couple things that we have on the matchups column, 5-on-5 numbers, rankings for each of the teams, Corsi percentage, high danger chances. If you don't want to look all this stuff up on your own, we've got it for you each day. Big slate today. This will help you get the teams right on a team level, right? So you'll see what teams have been doing last 10, power play. We've got every stat that you need to kind of get a quick, comprehensive look of the slate, and then you can narrow it down from there. So great job by Vots, as always, just pimping out all of his stuff, but actually he does a great job. I hope that doesn't happen, Ochi Blue, but if that's the case, then you better be playing some backup Matt Moore. Good luck. Stay safe at your Super Bowl parties. I'll be having one of my own and looking to take down $1 million. Good luck, everybody. I will catch you back on Monday.